all about the fundamentals of SIP trunking, a SIP trunking 101. I will be your presenter today. My name is Bree Fernie. I'm alongside Tony Lewis, our CEO, who is going to join us today with the live demo and Q&A segment. Tony is going to show us live how you go into a SIP trunking store and get a SIP trunk configured and working for you. And he'll do this using an open source platform called FreePBX that most of you are familiar with. This will be a really great example for you all to see how truly easy it is. SIP is quite the buzzword lately, so what better to educate and train on a topic that our customers are asking us about on a regular basis. SIP trunking is really taking the business world by storm. No matter what size of business or sector, companies utilize SIP trunking for so many of its advantages. Our team at ClearlyIP gets the chance to chat with customers every day who are excited about the possibilities that SIP trunking offers. But the truth is, the average person is generally unfamiliar with how it works or what to expect. We thought it'd be an excellent opportunity for us to explain some of SIP trunking's real benefits. This will be useful for people to understand the aspects of SIP trunking better and why they should take advantage of the services. Today will be a what, why, and how on SIP trunking. So let's get started. SIP stands for Session Initiation Protocol. SIP trunking is a method of sending voice and other unified communication services over the internet. It works with an IP-enabled PBX, private branch exchange. SIP trunking replaces traditional telephone lines, or PRI's, primary rate interface. Before SIP became a popular and reliable method of transmitting voice signals, telephone calls were primarily carried over the public switched telephone network, PSTN. The PSTN is the network of copper lines we traditionally associate with a telephone. The PSTN is a circuit switch network which requires a physical connection between 2 points to complete a call, whereas SIP trunks are virtual phone lines that enable users to make and receive phone calls over the internet versus copper lines. And really that's to anyone in the world with a phone number. SIP utilizes a packet switch network in which voice calls are broken down into digital packets and sent across a network to the final destination. The old-fashioned public switched telephone network, PSTN, with lines is soon going to be a thing of the past. Today's telephony is rapidly moving away from PSTN connections into the world of flexible and modern SIP trunking. The world's most popular telecom providers are phasing out old functionality solutions and have begun to make the move towards IP, making SIP trunk an inevitable upgrade solution. So if you're asking yourself, does my business really need SIP trunks? It's not really a matter of if, it's a matter of when you will make the move and transition to SIP trunk. So what exactly are SIP channels? Well, each SIP trunk supports SIP channels. A SIP channel is equivalent to one incoming or outgoing call. A SIP trunk can hold an unlimited number of channels, so users only need one SIP trunk, no matter how many concurrent calls they're expecting. The number of channels required depends on really how many calls the business will make at any one time. So I wanted to give you all an example because this is typically what I would review in a sales meeting. So let's use a company with 50 people or 50 users with 50 phones. We know traditionally that this customer would need anywhere between 8 to 10 channels on a pure T1 service, which allows 8 to 10 simultaneous calls in and out. But for most of the time, they're going to peak out at 10. So the beauty with our SIP trunking and our platform is if you buy the 10 channels, you need at X amount per month, and then you can also pay per minute when you need to burst for those peak times. So let's talk numbers. $24.99 a channel times 10 channels for SIP trunks is around $249.99 per month. And let's add in some bursting. So we're going to add in 5,000 minutes of bursting, which would be 5,000 minutes times 9 cents per minute. That's around another $45. So for $295 a month for SIP trunks with bursting capability versus, pure IT ones that are go from anywhere from $600 to $1,000 per month. And if you chose to go on a 3-year agreement with ClearlyIP, that brings the cost down even more at a 17.99 charge per channel, which takes you to $179 a month. Again, versus that 600 to 1,000 per month for a PRI, that's a potential of $800 in savings per month, 9,600 in savings per year, and nearly $30,000 in savings over a 3-year term. And that's not even touching on the savings of long distance and international calling and on your phone numbers and bank of phone numbers and DIDs. We're going to save that for a minute, but let's keep talking about bursting. So with SIP trunks, you have the ability to burst up. So if at a certain time you get more calls than normal, this is going to work for you. And a lot of time, people need to have more PRI lines because it just isn't as flexible. So the beauty here and the great thing about SIP is, if you notice your call volume is going up, you can then burst up, or you can add another channel, a fixed channel, literally within minutes, versus having to call your telco and order up another SIP channel or a whole, PRI channel or a whole second PRI trunk with more channels, which is going to result in substantial increase in fixed costs. And then you're also going to have to outlay some capital for some hardware to accommodate that additional PRI trunk. So SIP will include most of all your long distance within a large footprint in North America, and also offer dramatically low rates for international calling. And for those of us that grew up only having access to copper lines and PRIs in our businesses, this can really seem like magic. ClearlyIP has an awesome formula to determine how many channels, aka lines, you're going to need with your SIP trunking service. So we're always here to help you figure that out. Another question, which is what is the difference between SIP and VoIP, is another item we're always asked about. Although SIP and VoIP are often used interchangeably, they are not the same thing. VoIP stands for Voice over Internet Protocol. It is a broad term that covers any phone calls made over the internet. It includes a group of protocol technologies, of which SIP is an example. SIP is one of the specific protocols that enable VoIP. So remember, all SIP is voice, but not all voice is SIP. So we understand now that for the uninitiated, SIP trunks are telephone line trunks that are delivered over an IP network using the SIP protocol. And using this method, telecom service and VoIP providers can connect multiple channels to a customer's PBX. DIDs, or pronounced DIDs, direct inward dial numbers, and phone numbers can be linked to the same SIP trunk, and numbers can be ported into your SIP trunk as well. So back to the customer scenario example I just gave you on PRI lines versus trunks for that 50 user system, you can also have an unlimited number of phone numbers with SIP trunking services versus with your PRI, which can only support a certain bank of DIDs or phone numbers, and it can get very, very expensive. So if you have one SIP trunk, you can literally have an unlimited number of phone numbers. The channels don't matter. You could have 1,000 phone numbers on one SIP trunk if you want it. SIP trunks offer a range of unique benefits over PSTN-based solutions, and we're going to be going over those unique benefits in a moment. It's important when looking for a SIP trunking provider that you ask yourself these questions. 1, what is the infrastructure and global reach? 2, what is their porting process and associated cost for porting your phone numbers? 3, do they support E911 dispatchable locations? So important during these difficult times when so many people are working remotely. 4, are they Kerry's Law and Raybom Act compliant? 5, what is their service and support? Can you call them if you need help, or are they online chat support only? 6, does the SIP trunking provider have an admin portal so you can manage your own services. So let's talk about those three primary requirements within the Carey's Law and Raybaum Act I just previously mentioned, as this is really important to know. These primary requirements include: one, eliminate dialing 9 for 911 calls. So you want to work with a provider that does not require that prefix or any prefix when dialing 911. Two, ensure your provider has the ability with emergency notifications to be sent to designated extensions for personnel, alerting them to the emergency. And three, confirm that the SIP trunk provider can route 911 calls to be transmitted to the appropriate first responder with the dispatchable location. Not all SIP trunking providers are Carey's Law and Raybaum Act compliant. More in the US than in Canada. This is absolutely necessary, especially with these given hard times and remote workers. Actually, we held a webinar on Carey's Law and the Raybaum Act to our partners last month, as we recognize the importance of being proactive with technology and compliance deadlines. So, at ClearlyIP, we don't put our head in the sands and just hope for the best. These laws are for the protection and safety of everyone, and we take that very seriously. SIP trunk providers had to be Carey's Law compliant in the USA by February 16th last year. The Raybaum Act goes into effect next month, February 16th, and that's for on-premise systems. And then it'll be the same date, February 16th of next year, 2022, for hosted cloud off-premise systems. So as a SIP trunking provider, we can definitely assist you being compliant. And if you're a customer using SIP trunks, make sure your provider is compliant, as this could negatively impact your services. It is as easy as asking the questions: are you Carey's Law and Raybaum Act compliant? Do we have our E911 dispatchable location set up on our system? And confirm you can dial 911 on your system without having to dial 9 to get the call out. So let's move to why you should be utilizing SIP trunking for business. We all now understand that SIP trunks are telephone line trunks that are delivered over an IP network using the SIP protocol, and that using this method, telecom providers can connect multiple channels to a customer PBX. DIDs and phone numbers can be linked to the same SIP trunk, and numbers can be ported into your SIP trunk too. SIP trunks offer a range of unique benefits over PSTN-based solutions, and this is why you should be using SIP trunking. Lower costs for monthly line rental, thanks to fewer lines installed at your office. Lower call charges, thanks to competition amongst SIP trunking providers. Better customer service offered through more geographical and international numbers. Businesses can now easily and efficiently add numbers to their SIP solutions and terminate them too. Since customers can contact companies with greater ease, this can mean that their sales are going to increase too. SIP trunks aren't bound to a location, which means that you can move offices without having to change your number. You can eliminate VoIP gateways, as all calls arrive via IP. So this means no extra conversion and can maximize quality too. Modern IP PBXs and unified communication platforms offer customers enhanced productivity, better sales and mobility. Connecting your IP PBX to a SIP trunking solution is far easier than connecting to PSTN lines. And it's easier to include additional challenges on your SIP trunks to handle increased calls compared to increasing hard lines installed in your building. With SIP trunks, you can select the perfect number of channels for your unique requirements. On the other hand, with ISDN and traditional phone lines, you'd have to choose a specific number of those, and those were fixed, and you got billed for those every single month. Unlimited access to global phone numbers for your business and your team. So if you have offices or personnel all over the world, or you want to market a local phone number to a specific area or region, you will have access to phone numbers any place, anywhere. Some of the features, that make ClearlyIP SIP trunking so valuable are so important as well. I'm going to go over those features, like on-demand cloud SIP trunking. so you can start calling quickly without the complexity of multiple configuration steps or the inconvenience of waiting days for changes to be effective. Let's talk failover and redundancy. At ClearlyIP, we provide failover and redundancy to your trunking to circumvent PBX, network, and or data center outages. Self-service, our extensive dashboard allows you to manage most aspects of your services. So you'll have the ability to add DIDs, call path users, etc. with ease. Let's talk toll-free voice. You can easily add toll-free numbers to your business or port existing toll-free numbers to our service to enjoy our low monthly inbound toll-free rates. Number porting, this is an important one. We really understand that your existing phone number is important to you. We make porting very easy so that you retain control of your phone numbers. International calling, outbound international service can be added or removed to any account as needed. And E911, seamless E911 integration that provides system integrators and end users compliance and peace of mind with the recently introduced Kerry's Law and Ray-Baum Act. So you can see there are so many benefits with SIP trunking. Even more to go into here real quick. Let's talk about platform compatibility. Our service will work with all major IP PBXs and open source PBX projects. Just about any SIP-enabled device can be configured to work with our SIP trunks. Phone numbers virtually everywhere. We offer a just massive database of telephone numbers across rate centers in the US, Canada, plus 80 other countries. You can keep your existing hardware. We can connect to existing legacy systems, PBXs, ATAs, and even soft phones. Tier 1 redundant network. Our trunks are backed by a fully geo-redundant infrastructure, providing industry-leading business continuity for your business communications. And scalable SIP trunks. You're going to pay only for the connections you need without risk of rejecting calls by enabling on-demand capacity. So if your call volumes increase, you're still covered. And we offer a free trial. So you don't need to make your business decision in a vacuum. Give our service a try before you buy and experience all the benefits that SIP trunking can offer. So we've addressed how SIP trunking can give you the power to enhance your business experience. Once you've chosen a provider, hopefully ClearlyIP, you can choose a dedicated internet line for your SIP trunk. So SIP trunks can simply go on your in-place high speed. Since many firewalls can handle several WAN connections and internet lines are often low cost, a separate VoIP connection can be a great way to enhance the quality of your VoIP calls. We can help you look at all of that and determine the best route for your business. Remember, you can also upgrade your PBX to an on-premise IP PBX. Unlike with PSTN lines, which are often connected to hardware-based phone system solutions, an IP PBX can offer you an easy-to-manage and flexible solution on-premise. So if you're not ready to go to the cloud or a hosted VoIP platform, which includes SIP trunks for your connectivity, then why not consider upgrading your services on-premise to an on-premise IP PBX and still leverage the benefits of flexibility and modern refinements that only SIP trunking can bring. You don't need to be a networking or telecommunications expert to take advantage of SIP for your business. I promise you. Even I can do it. So we do, however, recommend choosing a strong partner like us that will help you walk through the implementation process, train you, and support you as the needs of your business change over time. Really so that you can be hands-on, go into the portal, and make whatever changes you want to make yourself. We do offer a free trial, and you can fire up a SIP trunk in our store in a matter of seconds. It's really as easy as 1, 2, 3, just some short steps. And Tony's going to step in here now for the live demo. Tony, why don't you show everyone how easy it is to configure and fire up a SIP trunk using our ClearlyIP portal. Handing it over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to kind of walk through our self-managed portal, buy some SIP trunks, explain some different options and settings, and then do a pretty simple basic setup on a FreePBX based system. So on my screen here, I'm connected to our trunking portal, and you can create an account if you don't have one when you go to trunking.clearlyip.com. And once you have an account, we can start adding locations. So we look at a location as kind of generally a unique PBX. A location has its own SIP username and password, and all your DIDs and all your logic and billing tied to that location. And then each location can be paired with a PBX. So under products and services, we can get started by looking at locations. We'll see with my login, I have a whole bunch of different training and demo kit locations. And we're going to go add a new location. We're going to hit add the new location. We want a SIP trunking. And then we get to pick to start with what type of call pass are we going to want to buy. So Bree talked a lot about SIP trunking, and we sell call pass two different ways. The first way we sell our call pass are our subscription model, which is you buy as many subscription call passes you want. Each of those call pass allow you for normal business usage, calling into US and most of Canada for your normal business usage. And you can buy as many of those concurrent call passes as you want. So if you wanted 4 people to be able to make and receive calls without having to pay per minute pricing, you'd buy 4 of those. And that's our subscription call path. You just pay a flat monthly fee for those. The other type of call path we have is just pay per minute. So you can say, I want to pay per minute, and I would like 4 of those, or I'd like 100 of those, or whatever you're looking for. And then you're paying per minute for every call that you place. And then to see what the pricing is, so the pay per minute call pass, you don't pay per month for the call pass. Subscription, you do. And we'll put this back to 4. And then you pick what type of plan you want. So you can do a month-to-month, so you can cancel at any time. You can do a 24-month contract or a 36-month contract. So if we do month-to-month, we'll see what our standard pricing here is. It'd be $99.96 a month, so $24.99 a month per call pack. We take it down to 1, we can see that. If we go in and say we want a 36-month, we'll see the price goes from $24.99 to $17.99 a month. So you get to pick what you want. And then because I'm buying mid-month, and every customer's billing cycle may be different. So depending when you signed up is when we determine what day of each month we bill you. But if you go and add services mid-month, we will do up to a 50% proration on that service. So you'll notice I'm getting a discount line here of 50%. Because I'm purchasing within 15 days of my next billing cycle. So it's giving me a 50% discount for that. On what my uptime purchase today would be, and then my ongoing charge would be $24.99. So we buy whatever we want here. And we hit next, and we're going to give this location a name. So we're going to call this our webinar test. And you can give it a description if you want. And then we can pick some quick features we want to turn on or off. So if you're using FreePBX, you can turn on SMS and MMS. We can deliver inbound messages right into FreePBX's user control panel and the Clearly Anywhere mobile app. And you can also send SMS and MMS from your FreePBX user control panel and your Clearly Anywhere mobile app. Inbound SMS is free. Outbound, you pay per message, and MMS, you pay per message for inbound and outbound. SMS being text only, MMS being multimedia, so pictures and GIFs and videos. We can enable international calling if we want, and we can enable concurrency bursting. So what concurrency bursting does is it kind of bolts on top of our subscription call pass. So in our example, we're buying 2 of the call pass subscriptions where we're allowed to make and receive 2 calls at a time and not pay a per minute fee. Bursting says, hey, when I need to make an additional call or I need to receive additional calls, go ahead and allow me to burst and just charge me per minute as if it was a metered service. No different than if I just bought straight up metered trunking. So in our world, you can buy straight subscription call pass, which aren't going to charge you per minute for your normal domestic calling, or you can do straight metered where you pay every minute and you don't pay per call path, or you can do a hybrid of both. So I'm going to leave those all off for now and show you where we can turn them on later too. And then we provide the address for this for billing taxation purposes, because each location might have a different physical address it's at, and we have to tax based on where the physical office is. So we will provide an address for this location. We'll hit next, and now we can buy some numbers. So we can buy local or toll-free numbers, and we can real-time buy them, United States and Canada. I will pick US, and I'm going to pick Wisconsin where I am, and we'll pick Appleton. And then you'll get back a list of all the DIDs we have available in that rate center. So you can buy some DIDs. If you have certain prefixes, you can search for them. Like in the contain, I could say I only want to see anything that contains 5211, and it will filter and show me anything that contains that. So notice on the right, I've added 3 different DIDs. I can buy toll-free if I want. Same with Canada. I can pick Canada, pick my province and rate center. So I could pick Quebec, and we'll pick Montreal and we'll get back, well, get rid of the contains. We'll get back all the numbers that you can pick from Montreal. You'll notice most of our DIDs, 99% of them include support for SMS and MMS. You'll see this little icon next to them if they do. So if SMS, MMS is important, make sure you're finding DIDs with those icons. That's, like I said, 99% of our DIDs do, but not all of them. We'll go ahead and hit next. Now we can turn on, we can enable emergency services, the ability to call 911. And we're going to go ahead and say yes to this. And then if you're buying a subscription call pass from us, we include a single 911 callback profile and dispatchable location for free, and then each additional one you would pay for. If you're doing metered only, then you have to pay for your callback profiles and dispatchable locations for 911 for each one. So we're going to give it a name and a description. It filled that in automatically for us based on what we set up on that location. What language you prefer if 911 has to call you back, and when you call them, what language you prefer them to speak to you in. Because we support US and Canada, we have to support French with our 911 provider, so you get to pick. And then you get, what is the name you're going to send them when you call 911? What of your DIDs do you want to use as your caller ID? And if we ever have to call back 911, I should say not us, but if 911 has to call you back, what number should they call back, which can be the same as the caller ID or something else if you wanted. And then we put in all of our address information. And it pulled in most of it. And then we hit verify, and it's going to go verify this is all correct with the different PSAP service that we use using geolocation information. So it actually took that address and referenced it into a geolocation and then verified with the PSAP databases that was correct. And it came back, and you'll notice this is green, and it actually changed it. The PSAP here wants the street name to be all capitalized, and they want the city to be all capitalized. So it changed those. You'll notice at the top it said, the address was adjusted. Please verify the green fields are correct before continuing. So those are correct, and we'll hit next. And then you would provide your credit card information, or for larger organizations and government agencies, we offer payment terms where you get like a net 30, net 15 payment term. So this account happens to have terms, so we'll pick, we want to buy this on terms and agree to our service. Terms of service, and then it's going to go generate the invoice, buy the DIDs, and set everything up for you. So we've actually walked through now, created our SIP trunks, bought our DIDs, set up 911. We've done everything we need right from a simple wizard. So this takes 10, 15 seconds, sometimes a little longer, depends what's going on. So now that we have a location, we can go view that location. I'm going to focus on my main location where I have a lot of stuff set up already, which is my Tony test box. And inside of a location, we can see all the services that we have. So we can see the location ID. You use this when you're going to contact us for support, or if you're porting out numbers, this would be your account number. A name and description you provided for this location, which you can edit by hitting the edit button. And then the billing address for taxation purposes, that's for this location. We can see what plan it's on and when the plan started, and if it was a 36 or 12 month, it'll show when it expires. We can see who our primary contact for this location is, and we can change this to be any other contact that's already on the system. We'll talk about contacts in a little bit, but we can on demand change who the contact is. as the primary contact for this location. And then up here in the top right, we get our balance information. So we'll notice the voice service. So in this location, I happen to have one of those subscription call pass. Our terms of service say normal usage for that, normal business usage per call path that you buy where you don't pay per minute. What we want to see is 3,000 or under minutes for normal usage. So we'll notify you if you're starting to exceed that. And of course, you can go burst beyond that. So up here, we'll see our limit is 3,000 because we have one of them. We've used 2.3 minutes of that. So this is what we have available. We've also set a monthly limit on our metered services. So metered would be things like outbound SMS, inbound, outbound MMS, international calling. If you had bursting enabled, any bursting that you did, any inbound toll-free that you pay per minute on. And this is showing what you've set of your monthly limit that you don't want to exceed. And this is how much you've used and what you have left. So we have $50 left. None of it's been used. International, we let you set a weekly limit. So this says, I don't want to spend more than $10 a week in international. And then this will show you what you're currently used and what's left. And then if you do faxing with us and you buy fax call pass, just like the voice, you'll get however many minutes of faxing that you bought based on your plan. And this will show what you've used and what you have left. What's kind of neat here is this shows you real time what's happening. It's not exact, meaning at the end of the month, if you set a meter limit of $50, that bill might be $50.25 because this is trying to do stuff in real time. It doesn't know exactly when you're going to hang up calls. So we try this. What you see up here, this balances gets you into 1-2% of what you actually used, which is what we're trying to accomplish here. But we can set notifications for this. So if we click this little bell, we can say, for example, on metered, we can say every day, so daily, if I've exceeded more than 60% of my metered balance, send me an email at whatever email you want. And it could be multiple emails. And then every day at midnight, we will go calculate. And if you're over 60%, we'll send you an email. Or you can say every hour. So every hour you're over 60%, we'll send email alerts. So you can do this for metered. You can do this for metered. You can do it for that soft cap subscription. You can do it for international and faxing. So you can set all your different notifications, and then we'll notify you. Down here, we're going to see what our services are, our voice services. So we can see we have one North America domestic subscription. We've got 2 call pass at international with a weekly limit of $10. And we have no concurrency bursting. So if we need to make more than 1 call at a time, the system isn't going to let us. So unless it was international. So to enable bursting, we can click this little button here. And now it defaulted us to 20 call pass of bursting with a $50 a month limit. We can hit the little pencil icon and we can adjust our metered services. So this will affect international and domestic metered. And from here, we can say, no, for international, I really want 1, not 2, or whatever you want. For metered, yeah, I don't need 20, I only need 5. And I want my weekly limit for international. And if you look down here, it's saying you can only go up to $10. If you want more than $10, you got to fill out this form and we have to do some more verification on your account. So we can go $6, but if we try to do 11, it's going to say, no, you can't. And same with that monthly limit. By default, you're allowed up to $100. So I could set it at 75 for metered, but if I try to do 110, it's going to say no. And then you just fill out this form and we'll go through the process of increasing that amount for you. So that lets you on demand change those settings. If I wanted to buy more of these call pass subscriptions where I'm not paying per minute, I can hit the edit icon, hit change quantity. And I can say, yeah, I want to go up to 2 now. And it will tell you what your cost is going to be. And then my account is marked as free, but normally it'd show you your cost and let you go through and increase that call pass subscription. Here's where we can enable SMS and MMS. If we have faxing, here's where we would buy the fax call pass you want. And notice here we bought 1 low volume, and a low volume includes, well, we can see up here, 300 minutes of faxing, and then we enabled 20 channels of bursting over here, that 20 channels, oh, I'm sorry, over here, 20 channels of bursting at $100 that we can burst above for faxing if we want. Registrations will show where we're registered to. So right now they're all unknown because I haven't set up my PBX yet. Failover will let us set a global failover for the whole location. So in the event the PBX is unreachable, like it is right now, we can set a failover. We can say, oh, any of the people who call the DIDs that belong to this location, I want to fail over to, and I can say a URL, so I could put in the IP address of another PBX, or I could put DID, and I can type in any phone number. And we will call forward to that number, and I can say unreachable. So only if the PBX is unreachable, or I can say immediate, so it's kind of like call forwarding, and it'll immediately fail all calls over for that location. I can see what my default 911 address for this location is. So if I send a call, if I call 911 and the PBX doesn't send us proper caller ID information to know what location they're trying to use, we default to whatever this default you have set here is. And then I can see, because I've enabled things like SMS up here, and I've enabled metered calling down here for domestic metered, I get a recap of what those different metered rates are. So I can see my default inbound is 9/10. My outbound starts at 9/10, which covers about 95% of US and Canada. There's a rate sheet on our website that will show any of the exclusions. Inbound is 2.1 cents a minute, and then I see my faxing rates, and I see all my messaging rates. So inbound SMS is free. Inbound to toll free is not. That's 9/10 of a penny a message. And inbound MMS is 1.5 cents, and inbound MMS for toll free is also 1.5. Then I get my SIP credentials. If I was connecting a non-FreePBX system, this would be the SIP username password. And I get my token here that I use in FreePBX to auto set everything up. The last thing kind of in this screen I'm going to talk about is port out. So there's a big problem in the industry with people porting out numbers they're not authorized to, like trying to steal your numbers. So we enable you to set a port out pin that will protect all the DIDs on this location. So if I check this box, I click this, and then I can set a pin. So I can say my pin is this, and save it. And now it's going to go add this port out pin to all the DIDs in this location. So if somebody goes to port these numbers out, they're going to have to know what this pin is. And when they send the port request to us to port out, if this pin doesn't match, it's going to automatically reject that port request. And by default, all your numbers are opted in. If you have a specific number you don't want to have a port out pin on, you can go opt that number out now of this location pin. So if we go down and look at our phone numbers, so down here is a list of all the phone numbers we have. If I hit the magnifying glass, down here, port out, I can say port out pin disabled just for this DID. So I could opt out the port out pin for that DID. So let's talk about phone numbers for a minute. In here, you can provide some information about the phone number. So we'll show you it supports SMS and MMS. I'm sorry, SMS and faxing. And then you can, what rate center and providence it's in. And you can then set a friendly name and description if you want for that DID. This DID is assigned to this location. If I need to move this DID to a different location, I can click the little die here and pick a different location to real-time move that DID to. If I want to set CNAM, so call ID name for US markets, I can right here set what the CNAM on that DID is. So I can hit the edit icon and I can say it's a business line. I'm English. I don't want it to be private. Then I set my CNAM and I set my caller name string. And this is what will then show up when you call somebody that does proper CNAM lookups. They'll get ClearlyIP as the call ID name portion of that outbound call you make. And then number failover. So we talked about a location can have a failover. So all the DIDs in that location, if that PBX was down, will fail over. You can also set separate failover per DID. So in this example, I have when the PBX is unreachable, fail over to this phone number. So what will happen is because this DID here has a failover, it will use this failover setting instead of the location level failover. So that's kind of the self-service side. You can add 911 on demand, additional 911s, all the facts and stuff. We don't have time today to go through everything, but everything is pretty self-serviced. And now what we're going to do is, how do we connect this to our PBX? And we're going to use FreePBX because that's kind of where we can sign with this. We're going to go back to the location and we're going to copy this key code here. So in FreePBX, you would install our module called Clearly Trunking. Information on our wiki and our website how to get that module. It's a free module. And once it's installed, you would paste in your token and hit submit. And what this is going to do now is it's going to go set up a connection to the PBX from this PBX to our trunking store. So from here, we notice that it brought in the name. It tells us what our default emergency callback profile that's going to be used. And at this point, I can see information like we have unlimited domestic trunks, one of them. We have international trunks. We have metered enabled, yes, and we have SMS enabled. So I can click this little button that says auto configure my outbound routes. But before I do that, I want to show. So if we go look right now, we have no outbound routes in FreePBX. And if we go look in trunks, we have no trunk set up. When we come back to Clearly Trunking and we hit auto configure this, it's going to say, hey, which of these DIDs do you want to be your main caller ID? Pick that. And now if we go look in FreePBX, it's going to set up 4 trunks automatically to us for redundancy. And it's going to have set up all of our outbound routes for emergency because we enabled emergency. It'll did international because we had an international enabled, and then domestic outbound. So it created all those for us. We hit apply config and we're done. You can literally be making phone calls now for your outbound side. Now for inbound, I shouldn't have hit apply yet, sorry. Let's let this apply. And then for inbound, it's kind of the same magic. We go back to the module here. Oh, come on, reloads. There we go. So we go back to our Clearly Trunking module, and there's a numbers listing tab. And here it's showing us all of our phone numbers that you bought. And it says route 2 is missing. So none of these numbers exist on the phone system yet. And what's neat here too is notice it shows you the failovers you have set for any of these DIDs that we have set in the trunking store. And I can actually set failover from here. So if we look at this phone number here and we hit failover, we want to failover to a DID, and I want to failover to my office number and hit save change. And if we go back into the store quickly here, our portal, and we look for this phone number, we'll actually see, well, it takes a couple seconds to sync, but in a second, it will show the failover here that we just set from the PBX. So back to the point here is none of these numbers are set up in the PBX to route anywhere yet. So these DIDs, if we go look in inbound routes in FreePBX, we're going to have no inbound routes. If we go back to our module and hit this little blue button that says auto configure, there we go. It now set up all our inbound routes, and it by default is routing them to this DID verification system we have on your PBX, which is going to play the DID they dialed and the caller ID they called back from. So if we go back into inbound routes in FreePBX and refresh, you'll see all the inbound routes are here now. So from here, you can edit each inbound route one at a time and pick the destination where you want to route it to. Or from our module, even easier is you can click on this route to for each one and did not want directory, and quickly pick where you want to route these to one at a time. So I don't have to open up each DID. I can just click right here and start picking for each DID where I want to route them to. If we go back here, we should see our failover should be set by now. Yep. So there's that failover we had set from FreePBX. So the next thing is SMS number listing. So all the DIDs that support SMS are automatically shown here. And for each DID, you then pick what users could receive SMS for this DID. And then emergency listings, we're not going to spend a lot of time here. This will pull in all of our dispatchable locations that we have set up, which are the different locations that we would send to 911. So you notice we have Appleton office second floor, Appleton office training room, a Neenah office, and an Oshkosh office. And these are all in our portal that we bought, the trunking portal. What we do over here then is for each extension, we start picking what is the office they're at, what's their callback profile, what's their office. So anytime one of these users calls 911, it will automatically dispatch to us this information that gets sent to the PSAP based on what you set here. So make it really easy with just simple drop downs of picking each user what their 911 is. We don't have a lot of time. We're going to run out of time here, but we have full notification system. So for example, I've set up a notification here called main office. If we go look, I'm saying send an SMS from this phone number to these two phone numbers anytime this notification gets triggered, and send this message. So on it will say the date and the time an emergency call was placed. We'll send it to these phone numbers. We can also send this email to all these people. And lastly, we can link to a page group to say anytime somebody calls 911 that this notification is linked to, automatically page this group, announce who called 911, drop them in the 911 call muted, and then you can unmute yourself and take part of that 911 call. So we have 3 different ways of getting notifications out for 911 calls, which is required under RABOMS Act. And once we have a notification created, like we have here, then we just go in here and we say, for each route we want a notification to trigger, we pick the route, the outbound route. So we have that clearly trunking emergency route. We'll hit action and we'll pick which notification we want to be triggered anytime a call goes out that route. And now we're done. We literally have inbound calling working, outbound calling working, 911 set up with separate 911 per extension, notifications, all the compliance we need for everything is done and in place. We will open up for questions at this point. Your cover area is only Canada and continental US. Territories like Puerto Rico, US Virgin Islands can have access to the service. So we do have DIDs in some non-continental US. I know Puerto Rico's one. We do have some DIDs in. Our coverage isn't going to be as expansive of DIDs in those rate centers, but we do have some coverage there for sure. In case of failures in with the client internet provider, can we create survivability, including transfer numbers to PSTN? Yeah, so we went through that. We can set failovers at a full location level. So inside the location, we can set a failover, or we can set a failover at a DID level. So if a DID has a failover, we'll use that. And if a DID doesn't have a failover, we'll look to the location failover. And a failover can go to another IP address or to another phone number that isn't even owned by us, just any phone number you have. Or you can actually failover to another location you have with us. So if you had 2 locations, you could pick existing location and then pick what location you want to fail those numbers over to. How do you know if a number you're porting in is SMS or MMS capable? So anything we would port, anything we have coverage for port in would be SMS capable. You can always verify by opening a ticket with us. We can verify, but anybody we do porting with, we won't port in with carriers that we aren't on net directly to us, which means I can't think of anything we wouldn't have SMS coverage for if you're porting numbers in. Do you give test trunks to test with our current PBX switch? Yeah, so we do offer some limited free trials. You can go to our website, ClearlyIP.com, and there's a free trial link on the website, or at trunking.clearlyip.com, I think there is too. Can I sign per location logins? And if so, each user sets their location billing method. So it sounds like you mean you want, when a user logs in, you want to be able to control what locations they can see in the portal. So we do have permissions. So one thing I didn't talk about was kind of the whole account management. So under accounts, organization is your company information. And you can see like your billing, what day of the month we bill on, if you have terms with us, what your credit limit is. And you can set things like default contacts, like you can say, hey, this person is a default contact for billing, or this person, you can set multiple contacts per type. And then under contacts is where you create your contacts or users. So you notice I have 2 contacts here, a training at Clearly and this MDone. Training's allowed to log in, MDone isn't. Mainly because MDone was probably showing if you wanted to add a billing contact who got email notices anytime an invoice was done, but didn't need to log in. you could create a contact without login ability. But if they have a login, and once they have login, then you can start restricting permissions. So for example, under services, trunking, locations, you can start restricting what they're allowed to do. So you can say view restricting, and then you can say they're allowed to see this, restrict updating, you can save that, you can add multiples, so you can start restricting what users can do from within the portal. So there's a whole wiki document on how to use the permission system for users. Where can you get a module to test with? This was answered, but if you go to our KB knowledge base, so kb.clearlyip.com. So if we bring up kb.clearlyip under ClearlyIP SIP trunking, click on it, and you'll see managed services on FreePBX, installing the ClearlyIP trunking module. There you go. It's right here, and it gives you a link of how to get the module and walks you through using it. So everything that we went through today is 100% documented. If you look on our knowledge base, when you drill into trunking, you'll see we have lots of articles here. Everything about the portal and store and products and services and how to configure it. It's pretty extensive, the documentation. Why would I want to use a SIP fax line versus a SIP voice for faxing for faxes? SIP line just for voice is going to be very unreliable for faxing. Our fax lines are dedicated routes and dedicated routing just for fax to keep reliability up. And then we offer a full fax to email and email to fax, where you can send all your outbound faxing right through email. We also offer a full API faxing solution. There is a video on a webinar we gave on faxing called SendFax.2, which is our faxing application we built. We'll probably do another webinar, Bree, in the next month or two on SendFax, but we've done a lot of, we've done a webinar before, and it's up on our YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. If someone calls 911 while mobile and no one in the office knows where they're at the time, is there a way your voice can assist in locating them GPS? Not at all. I mean, if you're using your own mobile app and they're dialing 911, we'd have no way of knowing where that is. With our mobile app, with Clearly Anywhere, which is our own mobile soft phone that we sell, one of the unique features of Clearly Anywhere is when you call 911, we're actually routing that call out the GSM of the GSM or voice side of the phone, not to us on the PBX. So one of the neat rules that we can apply that most of our users do with Clearly Anywhere is anytime somebody is in Clearly Anywhere and dials 911, reroute that call out the cellular network, not to the PBX, because the PBX has no ability to know where that phone is. If SMS MMS is enabled, how besides using a cell phone can text be composed received? So you can use our Clearly Anywhere app, or in FreePBX, you can do it right from UCP. So UCP and FreePBX is the user control panel. So once I went in and told it which users over here had access to which numbers, when I log into UCP as one of those users now, you'll see that I can add widgets. So for example, I have a widget for this DID 383-4285, which is this number here. And from here, I can see all the inbound, outbound SMSs. I can start a new SMS. I can put in a phone number, hit initiate, and then I can start sending and receiving messages, and they can reply back. I can see all my history. So if I want to see what was said here, I can click on the little icon, and it'll show me a whole history of all the inbound, outbound texts. If I have other DIDs, I can add other widgets. So under SMS, notice I have all these different DIDs I have permissions for. So I can start adding those widgets here and start communicating from those numbers. So those are the two ways you can deal with SMSs, with Clearly Anywhere, our mobile app, or in FreePBX's user control panel.
I just want to mention that as a side note, we did do a case study on a publishing house that we migrated to SIP trunks. It is a good read if people want to have a real world example of how this is going to be used and how it impacted a growing firm that really needed global reach and presence. So anyone can find that on our website under customer success stories. And thank you so much, Tony. I guess we're at an hour here, and without a doubt, you've shown that ClearlyIP has one of the most competitive priced and feature-rich SIP trunking platforms on the market with a pretty awesome portal. I want to let everyone know we're constantly evolving and enhancing our SIP trunking. We send monthly updates to all of our SIP trunking customers to let them know of new features and enhancements so that everyone can take advantage of that. There is no better way than to give it a try. So feel free to reach out to me or sales after this webinar, and we can get you set up and try things out and everything that Tony demonstrated. So thank you so much. Thank you, Tony. Really
No
appreciate
problem.
it.
And thank you everyone for attending.
Thank you. Have a great day, and we hope to see you at our next event.
Thanks.